Okay, here we go. Hi. Earlier this morning, as I was sitting and listening to you all, a gentleman handed me a napkin, speaking of napkins. And it says, "Walk a mile in my boots, ride a mile on my boat," and I added, "on a normal day." You know? You may have noticed that there are a few actual fishermen here today. That's because our few remaining salmon fishermen and women are preparing for the crab season, which opens in the Bay Area on the 15th of this month and on December 1st off of our shores. And the 2006 commercial salmon season was the worst in our history. And so the boats that have the option to crab will be doing that, and it takes an incredible amount of time and energy to get the boat and gear ready and good to go, as farmers and ranchers well know. Here's the reality. Our active salmon industry has decreased by 95% due to closures, and the salmon are not returning. That statement says a lot. As the panels were being developed for this conference, I asked Terry, where's the discussion about the responsibility, burden, and joy of recovery? And she said, that's your 10-minute topic on the solutions panel. So, so that's why I'm here today. And it's interesting that as I focus on these two aspects of our work in the basin, the concept of burden falls out of the picture, because if we're willing to take the responsibility and accept the resulting joy, there is no burden. There's no burden. Responsibility. This collaborative effort has evolved into what I call the Grassroots Initiative for the Development of the Klamath Watershed Restoration and Integrated Management Program. I know that some people don't like that word integrated, some people don't like the word watershed, but this is what I'm calling it because it makes sense to me and a lot of people that I talk with about it. They get it when I say that. And I want to say that this informal process has always been open to all of the interests, and all of the interests have always been conscientiously invited. So, please know that, and I know you do know that. It has become very clear throughout the past years that this group wants to lead the process for basin management. And it is right and just that this be so, for we are the people of the watershed, the people along the coast affected by the management decisions made within the watershed. We have many examples of watershed plans that have not succeeded for fish and wildlife and people. The Columbia River Plan, the Central Valley, California Central Valley Plan, two very big examples, and it's mainly because the processes were agency-driven and non-agency, large interest stakeholders prevented success. So we have the opportunity to do it differently here because we have taken the time necessary to work through our basic issues, and there are more to come for us to deal with. However, there is a level of trust and understanding here that I have never experienced within a region of this size. And I thank Bob Chadwick for bringing this process to us, and Alice Killam for bringing it, and Christine Karras for helping support it. 4 years ago, the Department of Interior sent Bill Leary to us to look at the Klamath issues. Bill had recently completed the Everglades Restoration Project, and a 3-day HSU symposium resulted out of that a year later, and then Bill disappeared. As director of the Redwood Regional Watershed Center, I was engaged in setting up initial meetings to bring the principals together. And after all was said and done, I realized that he didn't get it when he said, "You have an incredibly beautiful region, rich with resources." Wrong. It may look beautiful compared to Washington, D.C., but he was here because our resources have diminished to the point where we have major endangered species to deal with. And then he said, "After I finished working on the Everglades Restoration Plan and was asked to consider the Mississippi River Plan, I honestly couldn't get my mind around it. I appreciated his honesty, and I later wrote to him and said, one way to get your mind around the Mississippi watershed plan would be to start at the end, where it enters into the Gulf, where all of the fishermen there know there's a 600 square mile dead zone. This is a good place to begin. So that's what we're doing here, addressing the results of management with an expanded social vision. There's some wonderful possibilities here, some specifics that can lead to success that I've heard yesterday and throughout the 3-year process. One, keep the communication process alive. This needs to continue. 2, ideas that came from this conference should be the basis, the very heart of the upcoming Governors Conference in December, as Jane Keefe pointed out. No more, now, I got some concepts here that'll push buttons, but I have to say them. Number 3, no more increased water extraction commitments, at least until we figure out what we have and what we need. Why? Because we have brought ourselves to a place of imbalance between sustainable availability of natural resources and numbers of human beings to be supported by natural resources. How did that happen? The cost of production, gross national product, has never been adequately assessed. The cost of that production to the environment, and the result is an increasing list of endangered species, even to the point of changing our global climate. Our younger generation gets this. They get this concept readily. We need to open the door to let them move forward with this paradigm shift for future generations. How do we shift our economic system? Help our elected officials to step out of the old paradigm and be willing to talk about what we know needs to be addressed. Our human populations on all levels need to stabilize. We've got to stop basing economic development on increased human populations. We have the opportunity to create socioeconomic sustainability on a watershed level here. How much time do I have? Okay. Our county supervisors should support limited and smart growth within county general plans, and we need to support them in bringing that about. That means supporting open space and infilling of existing communities and energy conservation at all levels. The agencies need to shift to support this grassroots initiative. Agencies need to support the dedicated folks in this watershed to develop the plan, to move away from the territorial siloed management of funding and become ever more integrated to support the outcomes we want. We're in this basin, healthy natural resource basin, communities with a good quality of life. Several programs surfaced here just today. Participatory research pilot program for ocean fishermen to gather data, present-time genetic ocean salmon testing, fish-friendly farming and ranching programs, Marshall's Klamath concept, supporting each other. The support for disaster relief of salmon people came about last year, is a great example of how we can support each other. Another good example, I'm on the board of the Bayside Grange. We recently passed a resolution to support only policies that enhance both farming, ranching, and fishing interests, as opposed to supporting, for instance, water policy that favors one over the other. This resolution was initiated at the Bodega Bay Grange and last month passed at the State Grange Association. A step in the right direction. Let's get one of those resolutions passed at every Grange in the Klamath Basin. As always, it'll take a lot of work to get where we need to go, but as soon as each of us makes the attitudinal shift, we become a collective movement away from, I've got to fight to protect what's mine, to we're in this together, so let's work together. And that's where the joy comes in. As Troy said, we are one family. Let's be a healthy family. Thank you.